I would like to promise and pledge to all of my voters and supporters and to all of the people of the United States that I will totally accept the results of this great and historic presidential election if I win. But I would also reserve my right to contest or file a legal challenge in the case of a questionable result.
All right, that's absolutely what he meant yesterday, and that's absolutely the right answer, as we've discussed, as I believe. Let's turn it over to Dan Bongino, former U.S. Secret Service agent and contributing editor at Conservative Review. Hello, Dan.
Hey, Steve, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Good to talk to you. All right, so, you know, the media, as you know, he was going to lose no matter what he did. They said he lost the second debate and he just blew her away. So no matter what he did, he was going to lose. So they all ganged up on him and capitalized on, I don't know if I'll accept the results of the election. Now, how foolish would it have been of him to say, oh, yeah, absolutely, whatever it is, I accept it, when doesn't he have lawyers? Doesn't she have lawyers? Al Gore had lawyers. If something's fishy, certainly you're going to challenge it. How could you pledge you're going to accept it when you don't know what's going to go down?
You know, Steve, let's try to do something that the media and the liberals refuse to do. Let's try to think about this logically, okay? Number one, I'm not a Trump spokesperson. I endorsed Cruz. I love Ted Cruz to this day. I'm not some Trump acolyte. I'm supporting the nominee, Trump, but I tell you this with a pure heart as a former federal investigator. We have a tape out there right now, this Project Veritas tape, with a guy on tape talking about how they are going to manipulate the election. They've been doing it for 50 years.
Right.
Think about this, Steve. That would be like you're on trial for a crime you didn't commit. There's a juror on tape saying that they've already got you guilty before you even gotten into the court. And then the judge asking you, are you going to accept the outcome? Yeah, no problem.
Right.
No, I mean, is this idiocy or what? This is insane.
Right. You pledge now not to appeal. You want to waive your constitutional right and not appeal the verdict? Sure, why not? And you're absolutely right. Because, you know, you got the one tape where the two people are now out of work, high-level DNC operatives, for admitting that they foment violence. They send thugs over to the Trump rallies to have them start fights and hoping they'll get punched. And now you have another video from them which shows, you know, them bragging, not them, but others bragging about voter fraud. So, of course, Trump, I think, said the absolute right thing. All right. Yeah, let me talk. I mean, obviously, former Secret Service agent, so many stories are out there, yet the mainstream media doesn't talk about it. The mainstream media won't put the authors or the writers of these books or pieces on. But it's been known for years. And I mean, this is going back to when she was First Lady, maybe even to Arkansas. I remember talking about this when I was at WABC. I haven't been there in 12 years, about how she has treated those who protect her, whether they're in uniform, out of uniform, those who are around her, in or out of uniform, law enforcement, military. She treats some of them, has treated some of them like garbage.
Yeah. And Steve, don't you find it, you know, odd a bit that despite the fact that most of the Secret Service and military people are political conservatives or ideological conservatives, most, but a good proportion of them, that you don't see these same stories about the Obamas? Listen, you had me on your show for both of my books, and both times I said to you the same thing. I said, listen, Obama, decent guy personally, worst president in American history politically. I mean, those are just the facts. You don't see these stories coming out about Obama, but you see these stories, and you're right, consistently since your WABC days, and it's the same theme, Steve, every time. I was there. I saw it. It is a contempt for people she views as being beneath her. And this is the critical point, Steve. The reason you see people like myself and others, who understandably so, there should be some omerta there, but coming out and speaking out is because it's not just that she has a contempt for people. She has a contempt for process. She has a contempt for the government. She has a contempt for the rules. And if she gets into office, she will be a unique threat to our United States and our constitutional republic. I can assure you, and so can other people who worked for her.
I mean, you know, stories about one that was in the New York Post recently that I believe Newsmax picked it up, saying that the Secret Service, her protective agents laughed and were happy, kind of, when she broke her elbow several years ago. I mean, these stories of the curses, and again, again, people come forward and accuse Donald Trump of all kinds of things, and the media is only too happy to give you their names and put them on and have them as guests and recount the allegations. But people say Hillary called this one that and said this name about that one and they're on the record, and yet nobody wants to talk to them and put those stories out there.
Yeah, I mean, there are entire news networks that blacked out Gary Byrne, who was the Secret Service Uniform Division officer, who literally
anyone who cares to listen, that they all disagreed with Comey on the Hillary investigation, that he stood in their way when it came to investigating Hillary and this whole sordid scandal. And he's skating. I mean, I used to think, I'd never met the man. I just thought he was above reproach. He was a smart man. He sat there in front of the Oversight Committee a few weeks ago, and when Darrell Issa said, "Don't you know the procedure for granting federal immunity, don't you?" And he's like, "No, I'm not familiar." How could you not be familiar? You're the head of the FBI. I lost all respect for this guy.
Yeah, a lot of us did. And I think, even diehard conservatives came into this saying, oh, Comey will do the right thing. He's got a reputation as being a nonpartisan actor. He stood up against both political parties, which a lot of conservatives have done as well. And who knows? I mean, I don't know what happened to him. I worked with the FBI in a number of federal cases, and a rather large one, as a matter of fact, and always found the men and women there to be not just good, but to be absolutely fantastic. The agents there are terrific. They're above reproach. It doesn't surprise me at all, Steve, that a number of them are now coming forward as whistleblowers and starting to speak to the press and saying, hey, you're not going to destroy our agency, Jim Comey. This investigation stinks. It's potentially corrupted, and we don't know what happened behind closed doors. But it sounds to me like there was some wheeling and dealing going on in the back door. I don't know what they had on Comey or not, but I mean, the guy just completely.
All right, let me ask you that. Let me ask you that. And you just said that. Whether I want to ask you that because I say that sometimes. That I say I'm a layman. I don't know, but I said, my God, what stops Bill Clinton from getting on that plane with Loretta Lynch? Not that he would have to go this far with her, but what stops somebody from delivering a folder to Comey? With every website he's ever been on, every questionable thing he's ever done, private conversations that have been recorded, and they say, just want you to know we got this. Same people have said to me, maybe they did that to Roberts on Obamacare. I mean, you've been in the business, quote unquote. Yeah. Is that kind of thing? I'm not saying did it happen. I'm saying, is it feasible to think that?
Steve, watching behind the scenes inside the D.C. bubble and seeing the deals that go on, I'll never forget sitting on a post one day and watching a congressman who vehemently objected on moral principles to a specific Obama agenda plan walk into the Oval Office saying to his staff, I'm going to go in there and tell the president how I feel, and we're going to stick it to him, right. And walking out and selling out literally right there, walking out. I mean, does it happen? It happens all the time. Do we know that happened with Comey? We don't know that.
Right.
But the sad thing is, Steve, neither you nor I can confirm on your show that it didn't happen. That's the disturbing part because they've all sold this out.
And we should point out your latest book, The Fight, A Secret Service Agent's Inside Account of Security Failings and the Political Machine. That is the most recent one, right?
Yes,
thanks
a lot.
The Fight by Dan Bongino. My friend, thank you, sir.
Got it, Steve. Take
care. All right, folks, up next, my interview with John Zogby from my noon show, America Talks Live, plus a Gimme 5, how did the media react to last night's debate? We talked about some of it. You'll see the rest. Don't go away.